On the outer fringe of the Milky Way galaxy lies a tiny asteroid belt called Zoya, loving, caring, and alive. Nestling at the center of Zoya is a very large asteroid known as the Universal Academy of Knowledge. It's here that everything that is wise and sensible is taught. The head of the academy is the great wise Zed, who is a professor of common sense, and he has a doctorate in logic and fair play. He is much loved by all of his pupils and all of the inhabitants of Zoya. This adventure is about his 3-star pupils, Zig, Zog, and Zara, who, when not studying at the academy, make up the singing group called the Spacelings. All Zoyoans love music from the moment they are born. The Spacelings use their music to spread peace and harmony throughout the universe. It was early in the morning when Zig, Zog, and Zara were sleeping peacefully in their cozy little asteroid home. Outside, the sound could be heard of Zoya, which was slowly coming to life. The Visi armband on Zig's wrist starts to glow warm. He was neither awake nor asleep, as his Visi band glowed hotter still. Suddenly it woke him up. He sat upright in bed and looked down at his wrist. The tiny little screen on his Visi band flickered, and a picture of the great wise Zed came into focus.
"Good morning, Zed. What's the matter?"
whispered Zig, not wishing to wake up the others.
Sorry to wake you, Zig, so early, but could you come over to the academy as soon as you can?
"Yes, sir,"
said Zig.
"I'll come over immediately."
Well, it is important, but make sure you have breakfast before you come, because breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Zig slipped quietly out of bed and into the bathroom to wash. A few minutes later, he was in the kitchen pouring out a large bowl of moonflakes with Zoya goat yogurt.
"I wonder what the wise Zed wants at this time on a Sunday morning."
As he filled his bowl with a large second helping of flakes and yogurt.
"It must be important."
He was just about to leave quietly out the back door when he remembered his teeth. A little voice in his head said,
"It'll be all right not to clean my teeth this time. Zed did say it was urgent."
Oh, no, you don't,
thundered another voice in his head.
"Zed said it was important, not urgent."
And with that thought, Zig went straight back into the bathroom and cleaned his teeth thoroughly. Outside the back door, Zig strapped on his jetpack and set the speed for slow silent and quietly drifted away before hitting the "Let's get there now" button. No point in waking the others, he thought. Off he went at great speed, but maneuvering carefully and purposefully.
"Morning,"
he shouted to Zara's Uncle Zonka, who was out early in his zip-zop space bus, delivering the Zoya Universal Daily Informer, along with fresh fruit and Zoya goat yogurt. Uncle Zonka was so surprised to see Zig out so early that he waved back a bit too quickly while still holding a very large cup of yogurt, which spilt all over him. Zig arrived and placed his jetpack at the recharging station, at the bottom of the very long flight of steps leading up to the academy. Although Zoyaettes can fly short distances with ease, Zig was becoming aware that maybe that second large bowl of moonflakes with Zoya goat yogurt wasn't a great idea, as it made him feel a bit on the heavy side. So he decided to take a slow walk. Finally, Zig reached the top of the stairs and entered the doors of the academy. Inside the huge auditorium, there are transport elevators and escalators going off in all directions. The great wise Zed's study was right in the heart of the building. In fact, Zig, like everyone else, knew Zed was the heart of the academy. Outside the study door, Zig straightened his clothes, pulled in his slight bloated stomach, and knocked.
Who is it?
said the firm but kind voice.
"Zig? Oh dear, I really should not have eaten that second helping of breakfast."
Zig realized.
Come in, young man,
said the voice from inside. Zig entered.
"Good morning, sir,"
he said.
Good morning, Zig. Sit yourself down.
Zed gestured towards the chairs in front of the desk. When seated, Zig said,
What appears to be the trouble, sir?
Zed started.
I've received a speedogram from the planet Gumbooble, where you're going to perform a beamer vision concert tomorrow.
What does it say?
Asked Zig impatiently. Zed continued.
Something awful has happened to the poor people of Gumbooble. It seems a giant gorge burper from the black hole of Avarismo has crash-landed there and is eating everything he can, only stopping occasionally to rest in one of the small craters where he sits and sleeps for a while, whilst making the most horrendous bodily noises.
Zig was amazed.
Can't they overpower the gorge burper and send him back to the Avarismo frontier?
He's too big for that. The Gumbooble folks can't get near enough to restrain him. Anyway, the mayor of Gumbooble thinks it would be a good idea if your beamer vision show is postponed until after they've solved this problem. Also, their food won't last too much longer at the rate the gorge burper is eating, and the horrible noises coming from him are making everyone unwell.
It doesn't seem fair that our friends in Gumbooble should have the gorge burper problem, and the show stopped. With your permission, sir, I'd like you to reply to the speedogram, telling the mayor of Gumbooble to expect us by dusk tonight. I have an idea, and there's no time to lose.
The great wise Zed sat back in his chair and fell silent for a few moments.
Are you sure you know what you're doing, Zig?
He said finally.
I do, sir,
Said Zig boldly.
Okay, I'll agree,
Said Zed.
on condition that Zara's Uncle Zonka goes with you. This would make me feel a lot more comfortable about your trip.
One last thing, sir. Could you please contact Zog and Zara on their Visi wristbands?
Zed closed his eyes, and without saying a thing, within a few seconds, the other two spacelings appeared on the huge screen behind Zed, eating their breakfast.
Good morning, Zara. Good morning, Zog.
Greeted the wise one.
Good morning, sir.
Both said together. Zig picked up the conversation, talking at the screen.
Morning to you both.
He said.
Zara, your Uncle Zonka should have finished his...
The wise Zed interrupted, saying,
I've already mind messaged him. Please continue, Zig.
Zig smiled at Zed and said,
I hope you'll teach us how to do that one day.
One day. One day.
Zed said in a soft-spoken voice. Zig continued to speak.
Zog, please start preparing the Spacelings tour ship, as we're leaving for Gumbooble as soon as possible.
And with a big smile looking directly at Zed said,
That is, if Zed hasn't already asked you to do it.
Zed smiled back and answered,
Now don't be cheeky, young man.
What's going on?
Zara asked, looking worried.
I'll be back in 10 minutes, and I'll explain everything then.
The screen went dark.
Good luck, Zig.
Zed said warmly.
Thank you, sir.
As Zig was leaving, Zed said,
Oh, one last thing, Zig. A sensible young lad like you shouldn't have to think twice about cleaning his teeth, should he?
Zig scratched his head. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. He did think to himself.
How does he do that?
A short time later, the tour ship was fully loaded, ready to leave for Gumbooble. Zog was at the main controls, powering all systems before liftoff. Zig was seated at his desk, looking through the navigation plan, working out the fastest route to take. Zara was seated behind, waiting for Zig's navigation plan, ready to check for any meteor outbursts that may be avoided during the journey. Overseeing everything from the master observation platform was Uncle Zonka. Zig turned to Zog and said,
There are 5 light zones and 21 time zones. Confirming time now at 9:20 a.m. This gives us 9 hours 40 minutes to get to Gumbooble by 7 p.m. A long, hard journey, but possible.
Zed watched from the Academy dome and whispered a prayer for them as the craft lifted slowly before speeding away from Zoane. Even the great wise Zed could not hear Uncle Zonka's heart pounding with excitement. This was his first adventure for many years, and he felt like a small boy again. The journey went without incident. When the Spacelings were just 1 light zone from Gumbooble, Zog carefully tuned in the early contact radar system.
Come in, Gumbooble.
Come in, Gumbooble. Spacelings approaching. Please confirm contact.
A bright red panel in the radar turned green and let out a high-pitched beep. Within a second, a voice said,
Gumbooble calling. Contact confirmed.
Thank you. We'll be with you in about 1 hour.
Welcome to our galaxy.
In just under an hour, they were in position to dock in front of the Gumbooble Town Hall. The mayor and hundreds of Gumbooblians were waiting on the town hall steps to greet them.
Welcome, welcome,
cried the mayor, beaming with joy.
It's really good to be here again.
Announced Zara, introducing her uncle to the mayor.
Come in,
Said the mayor.
You must be really tired from your journey.
The visitors from Zoane followed the mayor and the chief of police into the mayor's office, while all the good people of Gumbooble went back to their daily duties. When everyone was seated comfortably, the mayor began.
The very wise Zed sent a message saying you have a plan to rid us of the greedy gorge burper.
That's right.
Zig jumped from his chair.
And if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, it's something we would really like to deal with on our own.
The mayor looked confused. Zig carried on.
Zara, Zog, and Uncle Zonka have all agreed that we cannot risk anyone from Gumbooble getting hurt.
But surely some of my men could help.
Suggested the chief of police.
Yes, have them ready.
Zog joined in.
With lots of rope, shovels, and a big crane. We'll send for them when the time is right.
Are you sure about this?
Asked the mayor.
Absolutely.
Chimed in Uncle Zonka.
Where is the rascal now?
Looking sad, the policeman explained.
He's just dragged himself away into a hole after a hard day's munching. He's so fat he could hardly fit in. Marvellous,
Said Uncle Zonka.
what's so good about that?
Thought the confused chief of police. Zig asked if the mayor could show him on a map where the gorge burper was and the whereabouts of his spaceship. The mayor pointed out on the map as to where the gorge burper was last seen. He then said,
His spaceship was badly damaged when he crash landed, and we set about fixing it almost immediately, hoping he would just get back on board and leave. But unfortunately, he was much happier just eating everything he could. He couldn't get back into his ship.
Excellent.
said Zog.
It's agreed then. We'll go alone and send for reinforcements when we're ready.
The mayor reluctantly agreed to the plan, secretly wishing the Spacelings would take some help with them. But without further fuss, Zig, Zog and Zara, along with Uncle Zonka, set off to face the munching menace. Zog studied the map and told the others it should take about 10 minutes to reach their destination. They travelled in silence, except for the distant roar of thunder. Uncle Zonka broke the silence.
There can't be thunder. They don't have clouds and lightning here in Gumbooble.
Oh dear, they all thought. The minutes passed very slowly until, "There he is!" someone cried. And sure enough, there he was, plonked in his hole, making very loud, unpleasant noises. And believe it or not, steaming. Uncle Zonka's excitement had turned into blind panic as he manoeuvred the craft near to, but just out of reach of the steaming giant gorge burper. Zig Zog and Zara flew out of the craft, making sure to keep a safe distance from the steamer.
I'll look after the craft.
Volunteered Uncle Zonka.
Okay,
Said Zog.
but be ready for anything.
Uncle Zonka saluted. The dribbling, steaming, smelly gorge burper looked as the three strangers edged a little nearer.
Hello, Mr. Gorge.
Zara curtsied.
I'm Zara, and this is Zog and Zig.
Boomed the dribbling burper.
We are visiting from Zoane.
She continued. The gorge burper blasted out.
Get out, you horrible little old things, unless you gonna bring grub with ya.
Spitting and dribbling everywhere.
Well, that's just it, Mr. Burper. We've brought you some Zoane goat yogurt.
Zig explained politely.
You what?
Thundered the burper.
Yogurt, sir.
confirmed Zog.
Oh, give it!
Foamed the smelly, dribbling, burping giant gorge burper from the black hole of Avarismo. Zog signalled to Uncle Zonka to quickly open the side door and get ready to release the giant tubs of yogurt. When the tubs were in position, Uncle Zonka pressed the release button, and a steady stream of lovely yogurt mixed with moonflakes flowed slowly in the direction of the burper's mouth.
I hope you enjoy it, Mr. Steamer. I meant Mr. Gorger.
The spacelings flew gracefully above the event, watching the burper getting more frantic as the food was reaching his mouth. Zog looked over at Uncle Zonka and gave him the signal to speed up the flow of food to the burper. By now the burper was swooping as much as he could, catching the bits missing his mouth with his hands and scooping up every morsel he could get into his huge mouth. His eyes rolled around and around and around. And as he licked his lips, his eyes gradually became heavier and heavier, until finally they closed. There was silence. And after more silence, Zara whispered,
Did you like it, sir?
More silence, although not for long. The fat one let forth a belch that lasted a full 30 seconds and could be heard as far away as the town hall.
Give it nah, give it nah, give it nah,
came the cry. Uncle Zonka was ready this time. He rolled forward an even bigger tub, which was snatched up immediately. Zig and Zog joined in filling the giant tubs and rolling them out for the greedy mound. Without being noticed, Zara took a walk around the munching mound from Avarismo. When she got all the way round, she went to the back of the spaceship where Uncle Zonka was working furiously, filling the giant tubs.
How many has he had?
She shouted over the noise of the munching and slurping.
27, I think.
Have you got another 25?
Zara asked.
I'm sure we have.
Said her uncle, becoming more and more courageous with each tub. 20 giant tubs later, Zara took another walk. Only this time, when she returned, she said,
Stop serving.
The food supply stopped immediately. The giant gorge burper looked down at the spacelings, waiting and drooling. When he realized that no more food was coming, he screamed, Give it! Give it! Give it! Give it! Zig waited for him to quieten down, and then said,
I'm afraid I have some bad news for you, Mr. Burper.
What you talking about?
Bellowed the gorge burper.
Well,
Zig carried on.
you don't fit here in Gumbooble, so it's time for you to go home.
What? Foamed the mountain of blubber. I'll get out and do you.
That's just it, sir. You can't get out. You're stuck.
The giant form in the black hole lurched towards Zig, but he couldn't move. He was stuck. Stuck fast. 52 giant tubs of yogurt had seen to that. Uncle Zonka came forward with new courage.
Look here, matey.
He shouted.
I've sent a message to the Gumbooble police, who are coming to tie you up, dig you out, and send you home.
Home? Moaned the gorge burper, resigning himself to the fact that the party was over.
In future,
Zig said very seriously,
make sure you don't take more than you need. Greed will always bring you trouble.
Zig thought about his breakfast. In future, I'll take one bowl of moonflakes and yogurt, and that'll be enough. It's never too late to start being not greedy. A huge crane arrived with the police, who also had shovels and a long, long rope. The atmosphere was changing. Everyone from Gumbooble was smiling, and excited chatter could be heard all around.
Well done indeed,
chimed the mayor.
It's all back to the town hall for a slap-up feast.
Great, thought everyone except Zig. The next day, after a very successful Beamer Vision concert, Zig sent a message to Zed, explaining the outcome of the adventure. All the good folk of Gumbooble turned out to wave a grateful goodbye to the Spacelings. Back at the academy in Zoane, the great wise Zed looked thoughtfully at Zig's message.
The giant gorge burper was not the only one to learn a lesson about greed.
thought the wise one. As they travelled home, the concert was being beamed around the universe.